Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we spotlight guest Kristi Haas from Watsonville, California. Kristi shares how she developed motivation to dig deep, even in times she struggled to believe in herself. Kristi stresses that there is always a way forward. She also shares a newfound purpose in her life. Her story is entitled Treat Yourself as You Would Treat Someone You Love. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Kristi Haas's interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today we welcome guest Kristi Haas from Watsonville, California. For many years, she served as a teacher and tutor to elementary school students and a ballet instructor to petite ballerinas in her community. She enjoys time at the lake and near the ocean. Along with friends, family, and healthcare providers, Kristi has also found motivation from her Peloton home exercise community. Her story is entitled, Treat Yourself as You Would Treat Someone You Love. Before we begin today, we'll start with a moment of pause. Kristi speaks about how her Peloton community has supported her along the way and how endurance athleticism has helped her along the way. So today, let us think of our recovery as an endurance sport. Every day we train. Some days we train more than others, but always it's on our mind. Our physical exercise, what we put into our bodies, the people we surround ourselves with. All of it is part of our training. Even the rest days, the days we give ourselves a break, those days are the days that the connections begin to strengthen. Those invisible connections begin to unite, strengthen, grow, so that when we are ready, we can push past, push beyond, and ultimately continue running our race. Today, we give thanks for how far we've come and for the strength that will undoubtedly come as we progress forward. Kristi, at the beginning of your story, you mentioned that one of the therapists in the Santa Clara Valley Medical Acute Care Unit knew your pre-stroke self. Can you describe your thoughts and feelings when you initially began working with her?
Well, when I saw her smiling face walk in my room, I was overjoyed to see a familiar face that, wasn't my poor husband who I knew was going to have to suffer through this with me. She knew that this could be a positive experience. She had faith in me, and she told me she was so glad that I had arrived in her unit because she knew this was the best place for recovery to happen. And she had so much faith in her team, and she just gave me so many positive, happy feelings that I was going to move forward with great people who were well-trained and experienced to get me through the goals I wanted to achieve. And Jill and Heather worked together as my recreation therapists. I remember getting in the pool with them and realizing I could only swim in a circle because I could only move my right arm. It felt like my whole life was going in a circle, just like the way I was in the pool. But at least I was going. I wasn't going under. I was staying above the water. We did lots of exercises and walking in the water. And I felt so fortunate to have even been able to have that experience. A lot of people don't get to do the water therapy. At the end of my time with them, I remember her partner, Heather, said, okay, we're going to go on a field trip. Where do you want to go? So I picked a really favorite restaurant that wasn't far from the facility. And off we went in her car. Practicing getting in and out of the car was even a huge challenge. And we got to the restaurant and she pulled out my wheelchair and wheeled me away. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be so weird being the person in the wheelchair. I don't want everybody staring at me. And as we made our way in, I realized nobody really cared. They were all worried about what they were doing, following their kids running around or making sure they got the table they wanted. And I looked in front of me and I saw this darling little dog. And I thought, oh, what a cute dog. I wish I could bring my dog here someday. And then I realized it was my dog and she was sitting in my daughter's lap. My daughter had flown home from Texas and she was surprising me there at the restaurant along with some of my friends and family.
No way.
It was such a happy reunion. And I couldn't thank Heather enough for giving me the opportunity and my husband enough for letting everybody know and having them all meet me there for a little fun reunion in a real life place that I enjoyed being with food that wasn't yucky hospital food. Conversation that didn't revolve around how fast I needed to eat because my next therapist was on their way in. It was so nice to feel regular in public and not feel different and disabled.
Yeah, it's so amazing that those little points of normalcy, how much life they give back to us. But then also, I love that your family and therapists thought of little ways to surprise you, because when we are able to see life in a joyful manner, then we're able to address our recovery in a joyful manner.
It really felt like a little kid on Christmas waking up to exactly what they asked Santa for. It was the greatest feeling of joy.
I love that image. Christmas morning. Actually, I was wondering about your family because in your story, you mentioned your son, and you also mentioned in past conversations your daughter, and all the ways that your husband has helped out throughout.
And my family too. For example, this was my daughter's junior year at Texas Christian University, and she was moving into a home for the first time out of the dorms with some girlfriends for roommates. I was devastated that my stroke happened 2 weeks before her move-in date, and I wasn't able to go there and help her move and help her set up and do the final last-minute shopping for things that she was missing or needed, and for not being able to meet her roommates. But she was so sweet and kind about it. And she just kept saying, Mom, we'll visit each other when we can. It's okay. Don't worry. And my sister-in-law, Amy, that took me to buy the shoes at Nordstrom, she had 3 kids older than mine that she had moved into college. And she said, don't worry. I'm going to fly out there with her and I'm going to get her all moved in. And she did. And they sent me pictures of her new room and her new house. And I felt so included in the whole process. Unfortunately, this is her semester abroad. She and I had planned this for years, where she would go, where she would study, which program she wanted to be in, and which countries I should go meet her in. It was supposed to be the mother-daughter trip of a lifetime. But as it turns out, it's the trip of her lifetime, and I'm living vicariously while she lives my best life.
Oh,
It's fun to see her on the Euro reel. Every day I look on Find iPhone and I decide to stalk her. And I look to see which country she's in today. And then she shares photos of wherever she's at with her whole family, which is so fun. I get to be a part of her trip, even though I'm not a part of her trip.
yeah. Those updates from other people that are outside of our own daily routine really bring a fresh perspective for us.
She'll come home in May. I don't know if she's coming home because she wants to or because she has to come home for her cousin's wedding. But I know that in May, my niece will be married on the beautiful island of Kauai, where my husband and I were married. And I need to be able to walk into her wedding and be dressed in a pretty dress and be comfortable in my own skin. I owe that to her, and I owe that to myself and our family. And so I'm working toward that every day. Because of my left arm kind of drooping a little bit, it's hard to get clothes to fit properly. But fortunately, I've had the luck to have several beautiful dresses, and my current caretaker helps me try them on and figure out which ones are most comfortable and fit the best and look the most straight and not cockeyed on my left shoulder. So, I'm just working toward that goal and toward being together with my family in a beautiful place where it's a whole new experience.
Huh. Yeah, sounds like it. And then back to your story, it's Alicia, right? Alicia and Michelle sound like little fairies who swooped into the house to help you recover. You clearly described how hard they pushed you while also believing in you. Please tell me a little bit about Alicia's method, the nerve flossing. What is that?
Frankly, I don't know what it is, but I know that she would stretch my arm and shoulder until it felt like my tendons were ripping out.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what it is or how it works, but I know that once she would leave, I could really move my arm around.
Huh.
Another small goal I have, speaking of moving my arm around, is to be able to have my arms work in unison with my legs while I'm walking to help keep my balance.
That makes sense. And workout classes now, it's interesting because I think that my arms and my legs are working in unison. But then when I see myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I still have more to work on.
Yeah, it's just a never ending road, right? There's no finish line. You just have to keep going.
It sure is. You described a moment when you looked at Michelle after tipping over and told her that your ego hurt. Can you tell me a little bit about how your ego is involved throughout the recovery process?
Well, before my stroke, I was very coordinated. Obviously, I taught ballet. I was in performances, and I was able to do yoga weekly, and I was good at it. I was coordinated. I could use my body the way I wanted. I enjoyed stretching. I enjoyed exercising, and I tried to stay physically fit, mostly because of my heart situation, and take good care of my body. And I felt like my body was a traitor, and I was kind of embarrassed by it because I thought I worked too hard to be falling on top of this poor woman. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I don't need to land on this lady. I don't need to hold onto the couch to hold me up. What am I, a 3-year-old learning how to walk? And then suddenly I had the realization, yeah, I kind of am learning how to walk all over again. And I remember thinking it's so easy for little kids because they're so close to the ground, but they have to put all these processes together too. And I've done this before. I can do it again. And when I was little, I had my mom's hand to hold. So what was the difference between that and holding Michelle or Alicia's hand, other than the fact that I was now a grown person, not a little child? So my ego definitely suffered from that realization that I was sort of childlike again and completely dependent upon other people. But as I said, it takes a lot of courage to realize you need help, but it takes more courage to ask for the help you need. It's so hard to be dependent on others and to ask for help. It starts to feel like you're a burden. But my sister-in-law, Amy, told me, we all want to help you. We just don't know how. So if you give us the direction, we're happy to do it. And we feel good about ourselves. So don't feel like you're burdening us. Feel like you're helping us. And I thought that was such a kind thing to say. she's helped me in so many ways through this. I'm really grateful to have her.
Yeah. Yeah. During recovery, sometimes we want to do it on our own, but others want to help. And being able to open our lives to other people can be a gift.
Well, I feel like little by little, it has to succumb to my will. And as long as I keep pushing it and bossing it around, it's starting to finally listen a little bit. I mean, I still can't button my own pants, which is embarrassing when you use the ladies' room in a restaurant. Your husband, he has to either go in with you, which kills his ego, or you have to walk out with your pants undone until he can button them for you. I don't know which is worse, but neither one of them is good. So we manage our way through it. But you know, you just start to feel like, come on, I know how to do this. I can button my own pants. I'm a big girl. And then suddenly you realize, oh, I can't button my own pants, but I'm still a big girl. And I have this man who loves me enough and who is willing and kind enough to help me. So I might as well let him help me because I need the help.
Yeah. I need someone to help me cut my food. Otherwise, the food flies across the table. And it's the same thing. I feel like a little kid asking the person who's with me, will you please cut my food?
Oh, yeah. Too. Yeah. And the other thing my husband does is he puts the part of the food that I like the best, or the part of the meal that I like the best, on the left side to make sure I'm looking at my whole plate. So for example, Thanksgiving, we hosted Thanksgiving at our house this last year, which was such a treat to actually do something that I normally wouldn't really enjoy. So my daughter helped me do all the cooking as well as my husband. But we sat down at the table and I looked at him and I said, because I can't carry my own plate over to the table, so he always gets my food for me and carries it over. So I looked at him and I said, you forgot the cranberry. And I said, you know, I love that. And he goes, look to the left. And sure enough, there was the cranberry sauce right on the left side of my plate.
Again, it's like Christmas morning.
Everybody at the table got a good chuckle.
I love your passion for the Peloton, and I love that it continued after your stroke. Can you tell us a little bit more about your 1,850th ride when you first moved back into your home?
Well, I wanted to make sure I chose a ride that I could manage. So I chose a recovery ride. And getting on the bike was the scariest part. And then getting the pedals going, you know, I realized, oh, I can do this. And at some points, you do have to stand up in the saddle, which is the seat, right? So, you know, I went to stand up and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And, you know, I figured out a way to keep both hands on the handlebars so I could stay balanced and strong and continue pedaling. I don't pedal as fast as I used to when I'm out of the saddle, but I still pedal out of the saddle and I can increase the resistance and push really hard. And I'm still strong enough to make that happen. So, you know, I'm still working on a lot of things. Like my left hamstring needs a lot of strengthening so that I can bend my leg when I need to. So I continue to work on that. And sometimes on the Peloton, if I pedal backwards, it uses that hamstring and I try to exercise and strengthen that muscle as much as I can, because I know that is one of the major inhibitors right now, my easy walking and my feeling like I'm walking smoothly. And as long as I'm focusing so much on that leg, I can't focus on my arms swinging to help me keep my balance. So I try to do one thing at a time. Right now I'm working on the hamstring, and then eventually I'll get going on those arms.
Yeah. And then eventually it'll all start syncing together.
And that's the most amazing feeling when you do something, you're like, oh, that worked. That felt good. That felt right.
That's like the path that you were talking about in your story. After doing it again and again and again, at some point that pathway will become permanent. And that's the moment you're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about shocupuncture? What were you thinking the first time that Dr. Lou set the needles?
Well, the first time I thought, oh my goodness, he's putting them in my hair. Am I going to light on fire?
Yeah.
But after that, I realized that those are just directed at my brain. And my stroke happened in the middle cerebral artery, but it blocked off the right side of my brain. So my left side of my body was affected with left neglect. So he directs the needles toward the injured part of my brain in order to activate that. And then the needles that he puts in my arms and legs to make the muscles twitch. At first I thought, you know what, this is painful. I don't like it. And he puts a heat lamp on your arm too, to kind of loosen up the muscles and warm them up. And then as I was complaining about it, my husband said, you know what, I'm sure it doesn't feel good, but your fingers are kind of moving. Are you moving your fingers? And then suddenly I would think about moving my fingers and I could straighten them or bend them.
No way. After your first session?
During the first session, yeah.
Whoa.
And then I realized that it hurt my calf a lot and my shin a lot, but I could point my toe and flex my foot. And that was a huge improvement for me to be able to use those muscles. So I thought, you know what, this is worth it. A little pain is worth the gain. And so we continue to work on those muscles. And now I've progressed to a point where we can actually turn up the E-stim machine a little higher. So, like I said, it doesn't feel great, but the results sure do. I still, like I said, I'm not able to button my pants or use my hands at full strength like I normally would. I can't lift things heavy, and I can't button my pants. Anything that requires a little bit of strength in my hand or a really tight grip on my hand is really difficult still, but I can move my hand. And 2 weeks ago, I was able to shave my armpit for the first time by myself, the left one. I lifted up my left arm and I kept it there while I concentrated on my right arm doing its job, which takes a lot of brain work. I was exhausted after that shower, but I was so happy to have a hairless armpit.
That is awesome, Kristi.
And from there, I've been working on clapping my hands, and slowly but surely I'm getting there. But the hardest part is keeping my left hand open while my left shoulder pushes my arm back and forth to clap. But I'm figuring it out little by little, day by day. I just practice clapping as much as I can.
That sounds like a joyful household.
Another thing they did at the acute care center that I thought was amazing was one of the PT guys, his name was Chris. He played in a band and he played the guitar. So he would come in once a week on Tuesdays and he would have a music session with us, and we could request songs from him and sing along. And my two girlfriends, Sandra and Nicole, would come every Tuesday. They'd bring me some really good food from one of my favorite places to eat. And they would go down to music class with me every Tuesday, or art class, whichever we had on Tuesday evening. And they would help me along with my drawing or my painting or my coloring. And they would laugh at me because I would only color the right side of the paper and they'd have to turn it around so I could see the left side of it. But during music, it was super fun. We all sang our hearts out. And it was so joyful to see everybody having a nice time singing songs that we all knew. And Chris would put the words up on the wall so that we could see them if we forgot them. Or if we thought, sometimes you think they're saying something and they're saying something else. So that way we could double check what we were singing. And he would also do music Jeopardy with us, which was super fun too. So, and we would go down and play bingo, which is the hardest thing for me. I play that at Stroke Center too. And being able to see all those numbers and focus on them and then look down the row and just see one row of numbers, not see all the numbers jumbling together.
Oh.
It's hard and it's exhausting, but it's good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like each time I play, I get a little better and I learn how to focus my eyes a little bit more. So, but I get home and I fall straight to sleep after a bingo day.
I bet, Kristi. You mentioned the Stroke and Disability Center at the junior college. Will you tell me a little bit about what that center is?
It's a center that's run by a bunch of therapists. And for example, the brain games class is run by actually a speech language pathologist teacher. And she has student therapists in there with us too, working with us, helping us along, especially on bingo. And then some people play Scrabble and we play Uno sometimes. One of my good friends, her name is Janice, and she's the cutest little thing ever. And she and I play Uno a lot. And it's just nice to have people to do things with that are patient with you because they have troubles and struggles too, just like you do. And then the lady that runs it, Courtney, I think she's like by training a social worker or something, but she's so kind. And then there's another gal that runs it called Sally, and there's Jody, and they all are just so patient and kind. If I'm late, I tell them I'm on turtle time and I apologize. And they say, you're here, so that's okay. And my caregiver, Carrie, and I go together and we laugh because we say, oh, we're going to be on time today. Let's go in turbo turtle mode. So we usually get to classes late, but nobody cares. They're all kind about it. And they're all understanding that, it's difficult to get ready in the morning and get yourself all put together and dressed and out the door and get all your equipment you need and medication you might need to bring with you and pack a lunch. But it is nice to sit outside at the picnic tables with my new friends and have conversations about our struggles and our accomplishments and eat our lunches together. And we even trade stuff too. It's really fun.
Yeah, Courtney Hewitt, she runs the program at Cabrillo College, and she's the one that put us in contact. She's been very helpful.
Yes, she did. And she also runs a women's group where we can all express our goals and our challenges, and we all encourage each other. I have one friend who's writing a book, and every week when we get together, I say, okay, Diane, have you added anything else to your book? And she's like, well, thank you for pushing me, because sometimes I get lazy and I don't want to do it, but I know I'm going to have to come here and answer to you, all of you. So we all help each other along and encourage each other in their goals. And we can express our challenges and offer each other assistance based on our experiences. So it's just a great program. And then we have mobility class, and Lenny gives us obstacle courses and challenges while we're sitting on our chair. And we do like kind of chair yoga a little bit, where we stretch and look around and move our bodies in ways that kind of feel good. And I wouldn't necessarily be doing if I was sitting around at home. And again, we have the camaraderie, and we all encourage each other and work together to make it a good experience. The other class that I take there is therapeutic horticulture, which I love because my mom was a huge gardener. And so it makes me feel like I'm close to my mom when I've got my hands in the dirt. And we learn how to propagate plants, and we have a beautiful garden full of bulbs like freesias and daffodils. And it's just so nice to walk out there and see that our efforts are coming to fruition. And I feel like that represents our therapy, right? You got to dig deep, and then the freeze has to hit, and then it has to have just the right amount of care and water and sunshine. And suddenly you have a beautiful result in the end.
Wow, Kristi. I love that image. Thank you. Kristi, thank you so much for sharing today, for sharing your experiences, your imagery and persistence and care and devotion and compassion, your desire to give back to the stroke community is just inspiring for all of us. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Molly, thank you for this opportunity. I just can't thank you enough for doing this for all of us. So, and I hope this finds its way to all those centers that treat stroke patients so that they can feel encouraged and that they're not alone. And there's a community out there waiting to welcome them with open arms and embrace them and share the experience with them.
Thank you. We'll close with a moment of pause here today. Allowing what Kristi has said about her experience to mold and mesh in with our own experiences. Because in a way, we each have so much to learn and to teach. We have all been walking a path that is unique, yet we are accompanied by many. So today, we give thanks for those on our pathway with us, our therapists, our fellow stroke survivors, our family members and friends, healthcare providers. We also give thanks for the parts of ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our spirits that have been on this journey with us. Help us to, like Kristi, take our own experiences and offer them to others as a source of strength and inspiration. Kristi, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 2, Kristi Haas's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Kristi Haas's story. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this episode of Beyond Stillness, Kristi Haas shared how she developed motivation to dig deep, even during times she struggled to believe in herself. She stressed that there is always a way forward. Kristi also shared her newfound purpose in life. Her story is entitled, Treat Yourself as You Would Treat Someone You Love. If you enjoyed this moment of pause for storytelling and reflection, please like, share, or subscribe to the Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke podcast. Again, thanks for listening, and remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.